Hey guys, Tim here, and that's right, you'll have seen it from the title and the thumbnail. I've gone and got myself another car. Well, I'm on my way to go and pick it up. So I've just bought myself a very, very cheap Land Rover Freelander. Now, I know what you're thinking, Tim, with all those broken cars in the barn, surely buying a Land Rover is not a good idea. And normally I'd be with you, but this Freelander is super cheap. I got sent a message saying, Tim, my dad's got this Land Rover that's just failed its MOT. It doesn't need a huge amount. I know you like cars. Would you be interested in it? I had a quick look at the MOT failure sheet and I jumped at it. So of course, the deal was done. It was cheap enough. I'm on my way to go and pick it up. In fact, I can see it right in front of me. Now, the bonnet is up, which is never a good look when you're going to buy a car. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the deal, jump in the car, and I'll pick up with you in a minute. Okay, so deal done. Now, this is a bit of a weird one because you're thinking, Tim, come on, just show us this Land Rover. But it's got no MOT. So you'll say, Tim, why are you driving it? Well, because I've got it booked in for an MOT tomorrow morning. So I'm literally driving it from this guy's house to the MOT station to get it tested. Now, Sam is already waiting for me along with Dean. So we should be able to crack this out in under an hour. If not, I guess Dean's staying a little bit late tonight. But it's the rear struts, so fingers crossed. It's just a couple of bolts to undo the top mount. It's the pinch bolt at the bottom. Probably have to take the anti-roll bar off, or at least undo the drop links, and then yeah, hopefully we can just tap it out. So let's get this on the ramp and see how this goes. With the car on the ramp, it's time to take apart the interior. So funnily enough, these things actually look like they're just clipped on. So we'll pop these off, and then that should give us access to the 3 bolts at the top mount, and hopefully that's it for in here. Now with the anti-roll bar drop link off, we've got to just tap the strut out of the hub. Did have a fancy splitter that Jake told me to buy, but it's up the barn. Then with that done, just undo the 3 bolts at the top. Yeah, I've got it. And we can get this strut out the way, ready to put the new one in. And you can see where it's been leaking down the shaft. So obviously this had blown, and that's why it failed the MOT. Now, I had a week to source the parts, and luckily I found a set of 4,000-mile-old Bilsteins for £95 delivered on eBay. Now, the other side didn't fail, but while we're here and we've got the pair, we're going to swap it over just to make sure we've got matching Bilstein units both sides. We fixed the failures, it's time to leave it here for the night. I guess we'll check back tomorrow. And so here it is, my 2.2 TD4 HSE Land Rover Freelander 2. And what a car. So I bought this through someone I know. Their dad had this and it failed its MOT. He didn't want to deal with it. There were some bits and pieces that needed doing, so he just wanted to get a shop. Now, he offered it to We Buy Any Car, didn't like the price they offered it, and came to me and gave me an idea on what he was looking for. Now, I thought that was too much, so I offered him a cheeky deal on it, and so here it is. So take a guess, drop it down in the comments. How much did you think I paid for this? It's a 2009 with 135,000 miles, full service history, but with no MOT. It's the HSE, so it's top of the range, and we'll go round it and have a look at all of the toys. But I can safely say this is one very well spec'd little Land Rover, and it's now got an MOT. So we've at least doubled the price of what We Buy Any Car would give us for it, but we're not going to do that. There's a couple more jobs on here to do, and we're going to sell it and hopefully make a profit on it. Looking around it, it's in really good shape. It's a 2009, but you know what? It's been incredibly well looked after. This was obviously someone's pride and joy. Cosmetically, it's in great shape. These, I think, shouldn't be black. I think originally these are silver, and these LED sequential indicators are definitely not standard. Other than a couple of little scuffs on the door handles, The rest of it is in really good shape. They're a bit muddy, but it's got Pirelli Scorpion tyres all round, which again is another great sign that this has been really well looked after. And do you know what? There is a lot of tread left on these as well. These are not cheap tyres, so definitely a sign that someone has loved this. It's got a tow bar on the back. It was just spec'd from factory. And do you know what? These things are built to tow. And if you want a cheap tow car, these 2.2s are an absolute beast of an engine. The towing capacity on this thing is great. It's 4-wheel drive, so it makes a perfect tow car. And obviously, if someone goes to run into the back of it, they're going to hit your tow bar first. So that's a win as well. Now, it's not badged as a HSE on the back, but looking at the logbook, it definitely is. So again, I feel like I got a great deal on this because this is the absolute top of the range. Now, as I said, I've seen these things just this week trading on Auto Trader and actually selling for £5,000 and upwards. So again, there's a huge amount of profit to be made in this if I can get it right, if I don't have to spend a lot of money. Now, we did the MOT, we changed the suspension. I bought some ready assembled rear shocks, top mount springs, the lot. Now those shocks are Bilsteins, they're 4,000 miles old. I got them off a really reputable Land Rover breaker. For me, it was definitely the right option because I wanted the quickest way possible to get this thing back on the road because I only had an hour to get it ready for its MOT. But obviously I knew a week in advance I could have bought new units, new top mounts, new springs, everything else. But again, that would have just driven the budget right up, when actually I think for £95 delivered I got an absolute bargain. Now the reason this took a week is because the guy needed to get his private plate off it, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous about this being snatched out from under me by somebody who offered him a bit more. But I'm pleased to say they honoured the deal, they gave it to me for the price we agreed, and now here it is. Looking inside, it's not necessarily to everyone's taste, and I'm not going to lie, when I saw the pictures I wasn't too keen, but actually in person I think it's really nice. It works. We've got a beige leather interior with some plastic wood effect trims. I mean, they could do with being wrapped in just some, I don't know, some brushed aluminium vinyl film, some piano black, I don't know, something. We could make that really nice if I wanted to spend just an extra couple of pounds on it to uplift that. We've obviously got this crack here in the leather on the armrest as well. But as I say, this guy obviously loved it because included in the sale came a pair of brand new armrest covers. So I can swap those over and that'll actually freshen up this interior a lot more. Now inside, it's an automatic, which is great. It makes this thing so much easier to drive. We've got a very basic looking stereo, but it's got DAB, so it's got digital radio, it's got an auxiliary, and it's got this sat-nav screen here as well. Now you can see it is super basic and really outdated. As you can see, it's terrible, but this is technology from 2009, if not before. If we wanted to update this, we could. You can get an Android screen, full touchscreen, gives you Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, also Google Maps and all the Android apps built in if you wanted to connect it to 4G as well. But at least, if nothing else, it would give you Apple CarPlay. Now, I'm a big fan of that, so if I was keeping this, that would definitely be on the cards. It's about £180 and it would completely update this car and give it pretty much all the features you'd expect from a modern car in a bargain Land Rover. Down here, it's got everything. So it's got dual zone climate control, it's got heated seats, it's got the off-road select. I haven't been brave enough to play with that yet. And I don't think I'm going to take this off-road. As much as I'm desperate to, I would probably trash this car. And you know what? I really want to make a profit on this. I need to make a profit on this. This has got to go to pay for some of the other cars. I've got some work on the T5 to do. I've got to finish that Mark II Golf budget build. And there's some other bits and pieces in the barn that I could really do with paying for. Plus paying the barn rent, because that's not cheap either. Now, other than that, inside, it's got everything you'd expect with the added bonus of Alpine speakers. That's right, this thing has got Alpine speakers throughout and a sub in the boot. The stereo on this thing actually bangs pretty hard. So again, I'm getting too excited. At this rate, I'm just going to keep it. But I'm not going to do that because we need to get rid of it. Now, what do we need to do before this thing goes? Well, we've done the MOT. That was the big thing. But I said this thing's got a full service history. And if we look through the service book, you can see that this was serviced by Land Rover every year up to 2018. Again, it's had a load of money spent on this and it's been done right. It's had the 100,000 mile 10-year service, so it's had the cam belt done. It's already had new rear brakes on it. We've replaced the rear shocks, and I mean, it's pretty much ready to go, but it does need a service. Now, when I picked it up from the MOT station, I noticed that there was a slight judder from the front brakes. So I've ordered some new discs and pads as well. We're gonna get those fitted. So this thing needs discs and pads on the front, an oil change, an air filter change, and then I think this thing is ready for its new owner, as much as that pains me to say it. So let's get this thing in the barn. Let's jack the front end up, get the wheels off, and fit these new discs and pads, do the oil and filter change, and then it can go to a very lucky new owner. Now, with this thing pulled in the barn, it's time to do the discs and pads. We're also going to do the oil and the filters as well. So we'll have this thing ready to go in no time. And it's typical for me. I always get rid of them when they're at their best. It's a shame I can't keep it. I really do like this, but still, let's get the stuff out of this cavernous boot. So we've got discs and pads and some other service bits in the box. Got a bunch of antifreeze as well. I probably don't need it for that, but I've got a lot of cars that do, so can't hurt to have a bulk load of antifreeze. And Sam is already, no sooner than I pulled it in here, starting to take the wheels off. Okay, so the pads themselves have actually got plenty of meat on them, but the discs, I think this is, yeah, this is what's causing the problem. So there's a bit of a judder from the brakes, and one or both of these discs are probably warped. So just pop that clip off. Then there's, I think, the slide bolts in the back of the caliper, and then we've got some big, I think they're 19mm bolts to actually hold the brake carriers on so that we can get the disc off. And just like that, 5 minutes later, the discs and pads are out. So if we look down here, we can see that we've got a nice stripped hub ready for the new bits. Now, as I said before, this car had obviously had some money spent on it, and it's got a set of Brembo pads in it. There's a lot of meat left on these, but while we're here, we may as well fit some new ones. So I picked up some new Mintex pads and some OE brake discs, all for about £76 delivered on eBay. In the interest of keeping the budget down, I think we've ordered pretty much everything for this car off of eBay. So definitely worth a look. We've got some new pads and obviously some brand new discs, because I think it's definitely a warp brake disc that's causing that judder and maybe a little bit of a rotational grinding noise. Everything else is fine. We know it's not the bearings because that was checked on the MOT. So I think I've spent longer talking about this now than it took Sam to get this stripped off. Turns out it was an Allen key to get the slider bolts out, and then two 18mm bolts to take the carrier off as well. So with that done, I'm going to get these unpackaged. We're going to get these back on the car and then onto the other side. Now we just need to squeeze this back in to reset the caliper to take the new pads out. Up here, we've taken off the brake fluid. There he is. The reservoir cap's up the top here. And while Sam finishes squeezing that caliper back, I'm going to put some copper grease on these brake pads. So it's got anti-squeak shims, but we still need to put some copper grease on these little ears. I mean, it's the little bits that make all the difference, and we want to make sure this is a really nice little car.
The rear caliper?
No.
I can think of.
Yeah. That's interesting.
What?
So you put that one in the caliper, not the slider?
Yeah.
Ah, did not know that. 2 Allen bolts. So the 2 slide bolts back in, clip on the front, and that's this side all wrapped up. There you go. and a last minute clean, and the wheel's good to go back on. Just got to torque these up to, I think it's 136, 140 Newton meters. And that's this side all wrapped up, and then we'll get onto the other side. I'm not going to film the other side because we don't need to see it twice, but you get the idea. So after we've done this, we can get on to doing the oil and filter change, and then it's good to go. Funnily enough, got a bunch of these in the barn, picked up from Euro Car Parts. As I say, these are the same filters as Jaguars and Ford Mondeos, funnily enough, because I think it is the same engine. So what we're going to do is take off the oil filter housing, which is like right the way down the bottom here. It's a bit of a pain to get to, and then we'll just stick this new filter on. There you go, 1/5 of a turn at a time. What a bitch. Do you want me to slide my hand down and see if I can't push it on for you? It's dirty, that's what it is. All right, with that done, it's time to pop the new one back in and basically do the reverse of what we just done. So 10 minutes, we'll have the oil change done on this, and it should be good to go. We'll pop the new air filter in just here as well. It's a couple of little Torx bolts, and that'll come out as well. So yeah, give it 10, 15 minutes. We should have this completely buttoned up and ready to go. Right, I think it's 5.9 litres of oil, and that's this thing ready to go. All right, with these bolts undone, pop the top off, and we just need to slide the filter out. It's so easy. I can do it one-handed while holding the camera. And then with the old one out, we just need to get the new one out of the packet, and then we just slide it in. Do these bolts up again, and yeah, we're kind of done. With all that work done, it's time to take it for a road test. And do you know what? For a big old car, it doesn't half move. Yeah, this thing's pretty quick. I'm surprised. I mean, we are doing the speed limit very capably. Having changed the brakes, they feel really nice. The gearbox on this is silky smooth. It's certainly no slouch. I can't believe I'm saying that about a Land Rover from 2009. But yeah, on the brakes, obviously they're all cleaned off, but they still need to bed in, but they still seem to work quite nicely. I'm not going to brake too aggressively because we don't want to we don't want to warp the new discs, do we? So let's get these bedded in. But I think this car is pretty much ready to go. Let's answer some questions. How much did this cost? How much have I spent? And how much am I going to sell it for? So first question, I'm sure you've all left it down in the comments, but if you haven't, last chance. And also remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing and it really helps. But with that being said, this thing cost me £1,200. That's right, £1,200, which was £300 more than we buy any car offered online. You could say I overpaid for this, but I still think I got myself a bargain. I'm more than happy with the price I paid. So looking at it, we've got £95 spent on the rear suspension. Then we've got the oil filter was about £5, so we're at £100 there, so that's £1,300 spent. The oil I bought off of eBay, and that was about £2 a litre. Because I bought it in bulk, we get through a lot of oil at the barn, so £2 a litre. These things take 6 litres of oil, it's about 5.9 litres. So let's call that 12 quid for the oil that we put in this. So we are now at £1,312. The air filter, that was another £12, so 24. So we're at £1,324. The discs and pads, they were £75 delivered off of eBay. So again, looking at that, we're around the sort of £1,400 price mark on this, aren't we? So what do you think? For £1,400, did we get ourselves an absolute bargain? Now, with that in mind, we have had to put an MOT on it, so that was another £30. So all told, with a couple of other little bits and pieces, like getting it cleaned because I couldn't be bothered to do it myself. Let's say we're in this car for just under £1,500. And as I said earlier, these things sell, and they are selling in excess of £5,000 to £5,500 with similar mileage, similar service history. Even one that's slightly older than this went for £5,000 the other day. Now we're back at the barn, I can tell you what we're trading this for. That's right, it's not actually getting sold. I know the plan was to raise a bunch of extra cash to put into the projects, but instead I've been offered a straight swap for this Freelander. Now, I've been offered a 2016. I know, right? We're going up in a world, boys. We've got a new car. That's right, it's a 2016, but it has got no MOT. It's got 150,000 miles and it needs some body work. So, am I shooting myself in the foot? Should I have taken the quick cash? Or am I better off doing the deal? And that's it, the Freelander is gone. Now with the Freelander gone, it's time to look at this Audi that we've taken in part exchange. It's right here, and what have I done, guys? Let's take a look. So behind me, we've got a 2016 Audi A3 Sportback Sport. So it's not got the S-Line kit, it's a Sport. Now, it's a late 2016, so it's got the facelift headlights, it's got Apple CarPlay, and I think it's got a larger screen in the dash as well, and lots of other nice bits too. But basically, this is it. So instead of cashing out the Freelander, we've gone and traded it for another project car. I know, right? This has got 153,000 miles, no MOT, it's due a service, it needs some work to pass the MOT, and it needs some body work. Let's have a quick look at this, and then I'm going to put it in the barn. So what have we got? Round here, first things first, this thing is filthy, but you can see the damage to the bodywork. And not just the bodywork, I mean, it's dinged the light. We've got the crease in the front wing, the bumper's all scuffed down here. So that's going to need painting. I mean, this thing is filthy. This tyre, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty close to the limit, to be fair. But then looking around the rest of it, we can see we've got some random tyre on the back. Now, if you've been with the channel a while, you'll know that this, in fact, used to be Barn Wife's car, but we sold it a few years back. But in true barn fashion, the A3 is back with us. So down this side, we've got a scuff in the paint there. We've got a big sort of, that's been banged into a wall or something. That looks terrible. So we're going to have to tackle this bodywork. That's something that we've got to do, because whether I keep it or whether I sell it, that bodywork is, yeah, it's just not going to do. So we've got to sort that out. But also, I think the worst thing about this is actually inside. We're not going to deal with it this video, but I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of what is coming up in the near future. This is probably the worst car I've ever bought in terms of cleanliness and the work that I'm going to have to do to get this thing presentable. So let's take a look inside. Okay, look in here. So we've got a cigarette burn on the armrest. That wasn't there. And again, look at these switches. Guys, that is disgusting. It's full of dog hair. This is going to be a nightmare to clean. But then just look at it. This is how the car has come to us today. And I mean, it's hard to believe people actually keep their cars in this condition. I mean, that's food. That is like disgusting. I mean, they've left their empties in here. I mean, I've got no words. I mean, they've even kindly left me a pastry wrapper or something from a motorway service station. And then as we look at the back of the car as well, guys, what am I going to do with this car? Look at it. So what do you think? Did I make the right decision? Should I have traded that really nice Freelander for this very, very grimy Audi A3? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Would you have done the same? Wow, I'm looking at it now and I'm starting to question my sanity. This thing's going to need a really good clean and then all the other jobs on top of that. So I'm not going to tackle that today. We're going to put this in the barn and I'm going to go home and just forget that I've got to clean this. So what do you think? Did I make the right decision? Would you have traded that Freelander 2 for this very, very grimy Audi A3? Even with all the bits and pieces that need doing, the amount of cleaning this is going to need, I think there's still money in this. And then do I sell it or do I keep it? I mean, we can't keep them all, and the whole idea of that Freelander was to free up some cash. And all I've done is just really invested another £1,500 that has come out of my pocket and not back into the barn. So this thing probably should get sold, and in the coming videos we're going to decide what we're going to do with this in terms of the bodywork, the interior, maybe even change the wheels because the tires are all spent on this. So let me know down in the comments, what would you do with this Audi A3? Would you have even swapped it, or would you have just taken the cash for the Freelander? If you're this far into the video and you haven't already, remember to press that subscribe button. It really does help. And I guess I'm going to put this in the barn. Oh guys, it smells in here. I mean, it's kind of familiar, but I guess it's like getting back together with your ex from high school. It's not quite how you remember it. It's had a hard life, smells a bit, and you're questioning why you went back. But anyway guys, look, I'm gonna leave it here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.